All right, so we're diving into Wolfman today.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, I've got this review, and it really digs into, like, all the twists and
Yeah,
turns.
the plot, the characters.
Exactly. You ready to unpack this whole werewolf thing?
I am. It's interesting how it starts. It's
Yeah.
all mysterious,
Yeah.
suspenseful. You almost forget it's a werewolf movie.
I know, right? It drops you right in the middle of Oregon wilderness,
Yeah.
1995. Some hiker vanishes, and there's all these rumors about a virus going around messing with the animals. And it's like during all this creepy stuff that you've got young Blake and his dad Grady, and they run into something.
Something scary.
Yeah, straight out of Nightmare Fuel.
Yeah, and that whole thing right at the beginning that really sets the mood for the whole movie.
Yeah.
It's not just a monster movie. It's like there's this hidden thing, right, lurking around. And it's connected to this virus. So it makes you wonder, like, what is it? How dangerous is this thing?
For real. Then we jump ahead, like, 30 years? And Blake's in San Francisco. He's got his family, his career, but he's also carrying around a ton of baggage. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
he's got these anger issues, and they're seriously straining his relationship with his wife, Charlotte. Have you ever felt like that? Like you're carrying around all this unresolved stuff, and it just weighs you down.
Definitely.
Yeah, and it affects the people around you, too.
Totally. And that's where this movie gets good, I think.
Yeah.
It takes this whole werewolf thing, which is, pretty fantastical, and it connects it to these real human struggles that we can all relate to.
Yeah.
You see Blake's flaws, his weak points. But you also see how much he wants to connect with people. And it makes everything that happens to him later on hit so much harder because you're already invested in him. You get me?
Yeah, totally. It's not just about the monster. It's about this guy battling his own inner demons.
Yeah.
Oh, and speaking of things coming back to haunt you, Blake gets a letter. It's his dad's death certificate. The dad that disappeared, right?
Yeah.
And along with it, there's a key to his childhood home. Back in Oregon, it's like the past is calling him back. So he decides to go back with Charlotte and their daughter, Ginger. Have you ever felt that? Like,
Yeah.
you need to go back and face something from your past.
Like you can't escape it.
Exactly. It's like no matter how far you run, the past always finds a way to catch up.
Totally.
And going back to Oregon, it's not just a physical journey, right?
No, it's like symbolic,
Yeah.
He's going back to face his past, literally and figuratively, trying to figure out what happened to his dad. Maybe even trying to figure out himself.
Yeah, I see that. And that symbolism, it gets even heavier when they meet this guy, Derek. He's a local, and he offers to guide them through the woods to their house. But get this, before they even reach the house, bam, this creature attacks their car.
Out of nowhere.
It's brutal.
And so sudden, it really shows you how dangerous this thing is. It doesn't wait or anything. It just attacks. Pulls him right off the road, drags Derek into the dark. And in all that chaos, Blake gets scratched.
Which, in a werewolf movie, you just know that's bad news.
Oh, yeah, that's like the classic setup. He gets infected. And from that point on, you see Blake changing. It's seriously messed up. Like his hands start bleeding, his teeth fall out, he's sweating like crazy, and he can't stand any loud noises.
Oh, wow.
It's all building up to that scene where the creature breaks into the house and attacks him again. I mean, how would you react if that happened to you?
Seriously, that would be terrifying. Just facing something like that, so primal. I don't even know.
It's pure horror, The filmmakers don't hold back on showing you how awful the transformation is, both physically and mentally. You see Blake losing his humanity bit by bit as the animal takes over. Makes you wonder, where's the line? What makes us human and what makes us a beast?
And through all of this, you have Charlotte trying to stay strong. She's not just some helpless victim. She's a mother trying to protect her daughter from something truly terrifying.
And she's smart about it. She finds this old car, tries to get it running, but the creature attacks again and they end up on the roof of a greenhouse. It's like a constant fight to stay alive. Then Blake steps up, decides to lead the creature away from his family, sacrifices himself to give them a chance to escape.
Wow.
And he comes back, spitting out a severed finger, and Charlotte and Ginger are freaking out, obviously.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, and he's ready to let them go, but then, surprise, the creature attacks again. Only this time, Blake fights back, kills it, and it's brutal.
That's super bloody.
And
Yeah.
handsome comes a real shocker.
Mm.
The creature Blake just killed. It was his dad, Grady.
No way.
Yeah, it turns out that virus has been plaguing the town. Grady got infected. He was the monster this whole time. And now Blake, after having to kill his own father to protect his family, he realizes what's happening to him. He's becoming the monster too.
Whoa. Talk about a messed up family reunion, right?
Yeah. This revelation changes everything. It's like any hope that Blake could fight off the infection, It's gone. And the fact that he had to kill his own father to protect his family, it's just tragic. We can think about family legacies, the things we inherit, good and bad.
For sure. And it doesn't stop there. Blake, he can't control himself anymore. His urges take over and he turns on his own family. They have to run to some farm nearby while he's a full-blown werewolf now, hunting them down. You see him breaking into this farmhouse using his claws. His senses are all heightened. He sees them in the dark. It's terrifying.
It's like all those classic werewolf stories, the dark side of him. Blake isn't some hero fighting for control anymore. He's become the monster, the very thing he was trying to fight.
Man, and Charlotte, always thinking on her feet, she sets a trap. A bear trap. And Blake steps right into it. Now he's caught, hurt, desperate. What would you do if you were Charlotte? The man you love, he's a monster now, trapped in suffering.
I don't know, it's so intense. You can feel Charlotte's struggle. She wants to help Blake, but he's dangerous. And then Blake does something crazy.
Yeah.
He bites off his own leg to get free.
What?
Yeah, it's brutal. Shows just how far gone he is. Pure instinct now, just trying to survive. And he keeps coming after them. They make it up to this hunting blind way up in the trees, but Blake just keeps climbing. He corners them, and then
And then what?
Charlotte, she raises her rifle,
Oh, man.
and she shoots right through the heart.
It's a mercy killing, a tragic end to a horrifying ordeal. Charlotte, she had this impossible choice, the man she loved or the monster he'd become. She chose to end his suffering. That's heavy stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And the ending, it's really powerful because it makes you question everything about Blake. Was he always going to be a monster, or was it just the virus? What do you think?
I don't know, man. Throughout the whole movie, you see Blake struggling with anger, trying to control himself. So does that make him more vulnerable to the virus? Or was it always going to happen? It's like destiny.
That's what's so cool about Wolfman, right? It doesn't give you all the answers. It makes you think about human nature, good versus evil, stuff we can't even understand.
Yeah, like looking in a mirror almost. We all have those dark parts, times we feel like we're losing it. This movie, it makes you face those parts of yourself.
Exactly. And it does it with, like, compassion for everyone. Blake, he's a victim of this horrible thing. Charlotte, she has to make an unthinkable choice. And Ginger, their daughter, well, she's scarred for life. It makes you think about how trauma affects people. Not just one person, but everyone around them.
It's a story that stays with you, makes you think about family, sacrifice, what it means to be human.
And our responsibility to each other, especially when we're facing something we don't understand. How do we protect ourselves and the people we love? How do we be compassionate and still keep ourselves safe?
That's deep, man. It's not just a horror movie, it's about real life too, right? I mean, we all have those anxieties about life. The world can be unpredictable. It's scary sometimes.
Totally. And it's our choices when things get tough that really show who we are, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And speaking of choices, that last scene, man, Charlotte standing over Blake's body, rifle in hand, you can see the weight of her decision on her face. It makes you wonder, what would I have done?
Right. Could you actually pull the trigger? Kill the person you love to save yourself and your child? It's a tough question. There's no easy answer.
It really makes you think. And that's what makes this movie so good. It's not just entertainment. It's about the human experience, the darkness inside all of us.
For sure. But even with all the darkness, Wolfman also reminds us that there's still good in the world. Compassion, sacrifice, love. Even when things are horrible, those things shine through.
It's true.
And I think one of the biggest things we can take away from it is it warns us about giving in to our worst impulses. Real strength isn't about being a brute. It's about facing our demons,
Yeah.
both inside and out, with like reason and empathy. Don't you think?
Totally agree. Wolfman is a movie that challenges you on so many levels. If you want a horror movie that makes you think, this is it, just be ready. It's a wild ride. Emotional, intense.
Yeah. It makes you question your own beliefs, see things from different angles. It sticks with you, long after it's over.
And on that note, I think that wraps up our deep dive into Wolfman. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back soon with another deep dive. Until then, keep exploring, keep asking questions, keep digging into those stories that make you think and feel. You know what gets me about Wolfman? We start off talking about a monster movie, but then we end up in this deep conversation about family and sacrifice and like our own inner darkness. What really stuck with you?
It's a tragedy,
Yeah.
like how it keeps repeating itself. It starts with Grady getting infected, turning into the monster, then dying at the hands of his own son. Then Blake gets hit with the same curse. It's like this never-ending cycle of pain and loss.
Makes you wonder, can you ever escape something like that? break free from that kind of legacy? Or are we just doomed to repeat the mistakes of our parents?
It's a tough question, and I think the movie leaves it open-ended on purpose. There's no easy answer, no quick fix. It's saying that the fight between good and evil, it's inside all of us. It's a battle we all face, you know. Have you ever felt that pull, that struggle between who you want to be and those darker urges that try to take over?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I think that's what makes this movie so relatable. It's like a metaphor for all kinds of personal struggles, right? Addiction, anger, anything that can consume us. It's about recognizing those demons and finding the strength to resist them, even when it feels impossible.
Absolutely. And that's where having a support system comes in, you know?
Wow.
People who can help you through the tough times and remind you of who you really are. Like Charlotte, even with all her flaws, she becomes Blake's anchor. She's the love and compassion that guides him through the nightmare.
And she ends up making the ultimate sacrifice, killing the man she loved to protect herself and her daughter. That decision, it's going to stay with her forever, but it also shows her strength.
Yeah, it really does. It shows that she's not just a victim. She's a woman of action, willing to do whatever it takes to keep her family safe. It's like we all have that potential inside us to rise to the occasion even when we face the unthinkable.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into Wolfman, what's the big takeaway? What can we learn from all this darkness and chaos?
Even in the darkest stories, there's always a glimmer of hope, that human spark that never dies out. It's a reminder to face our fears, be honest about our weaknesses, and fight for what we believe in, even when it feels like we're fighting a losing battle.
Well said. This movie, it really makes you think, doesn't it? About good and evil, the power of family, the choices we make when things get really tough. There's a lot to unpack, but that's what makes it so powerful, I guess.
It really is. And maybe that's the most important thing about Wolfman. It's a movie that sparks conversations, stays with you.
If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend checking it out. But just a heads up, it's intense, a dark and emotional journey. But in the end, I think it's a hopeful one. It reminds us that even when we're scared, we have the power to choose, to act, to make a difference.
That's something worth remembering.
Absolutely. And with that, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep into the stories that matter.